record it, so this is a voiceover. So first this is us downloading Python for what we need to obviously use Python. So you click the first link and you want to click this button, the yellow button, that will give you the newest Python patch, which you can't go wrong with. Now when I open this it will look a wee bit different because I've already installed it. So mine says modify, but yours should say install. So click install for you. I'm just going to click modify. Don't click PyLauncher, I don't know what it does. I just clicked it because I got a wee bit curious. Here you want to make sure add Python to environment variables is clicked because you definitely need that. Oh, okay. Okay, now we're installing Visual Studio Code. So obviously go ahead and type that in. Man, that sucks. Right, cool. Click the second link. I'm hoping it's there. If not, there'll be a link down and hopefully the description if I can figure out how to do that. There's a few options. Just click whatever your device is. Mine's a Windows, so I'll go ahead and click that. This should pop up, obviously. Just go ahead and save that. It's going to take a few minutes. I'll sped this up, but it will take. I think mine normally takes about 5 minutes every time I reinstall it, but this one was a wee bit quicker. Again, when I open this, it's going to look a wee bit different from yours because again, I've already installed it. So I'm not entirely sure how it's meant to go. I think it works just the same. Yep, I accept. Click create a desktop icon. Make sure everything I've clicked is clicked, and then click install. But I'm just going to click cancel because I've already done it. And hopefully that's it. So opening Visual Studio Code after it's downloaded. The first thing you want to go to is these extensions. So once you click on it, I've already installed it, but go ahead and type in Python and give it a second, and click this one here and just install that. I've already installed it, but once you've installed it, then we can go ahead to the actual coding. Okay, so now we're here. I'm lost for words. Now I don't want this line of code anymore. What I can do is I can just delete it, or I can make a comment, which basically means that it's when the computer is reading what to do, it will just ignore this line of code, but we can still see it. So to do that, we just add two little. No, that's a lie. We add a hashtag is what we do, and it being green means that the computer's just going to ignore it and it's became a comment. I don't like to use comments all that much, but a lot of people like to use it maybe to keep track of what they're doing, or if you've got an especially long or massive project, it's always easier to keep comments to keep track of what does what and what your functions, which we'll get over later, might do. But for now I'm just going to delete it. So variables is what we're doing now, I think. To call a variable in Python, you just need to enter what you want the name of the variable to be. It's very easy to name a variable, but there are some rules which I'll go over right now. So I can call it num, so number, I can call it number. Number equals, and then I'll give it a value, 10. So that's just assigned a variable a value. What we cannot do is name the variable something like number exclamation mark, and that's what these little squiggly lines mean. Something's gone wrong. So you can't name it certain things. I don't actually know many examples right now. We can't name it that. We can't name it any special character like that. I don't know why that isn't showing up as an area. Oh, I know exactly why, but we'll get over that in a minute. We can't give it that, or that. So you need to stick to only numbers or numbers or letters at the end of your variable name to make it a valid one. So I'm going to call this number 1. Nope, that's not how you do it. I'm going to call this number 1 equals 10, and number 2 say equals 15. Okay, Control S to save that. Now for the print function, we can tell it to also show a number. So we're going to say show the number 1, right? And if we run that right now, I'm going to press Control F5, but you can also press this little button up here. If you press Control F5, you're going to have to say the Python debugger. So we click this, and we wait for it to run. And here we get the number 1. Now we can write in number 1, and that means that this is going to print whatever number 1 is equal to. But so I'll just show you that now actually before I continue. And here we get the number 10, and number 1 is 10. If we put this in quotation marks, we get number 1. So if you're wanting it to show a variable value, you have to write it as is, no quotation marks. You can use single quotes or whatever they're called, but again they'll act the same as quotation marks, so you don't want to use them. Now Python is very flexible with how its variables work, so I can say number 1, and then if I go down here and say number 1 equals 5, we can print number 1 again. Or if I do number 1 equals a string this time, so I'm going to say hello, and then print number 1 again. Here we get a different result. Not a different result, we get what we'd expect anyway. 10, 5 and hello, and here you see in order. Number 1 equals 10, I'm going to print it, so 10. Number 1 equals 5, print 5, and number 1 equals hello, and print number 1, which is hello. In a lot of languages you can't just change the variable type, so this changed from what we call an integer to a string, and a lot of languages you can't just swap them about that easily. But that's one of the good things about Python, is it's automatic garbage handling, I think is what the phrase is, but I might be wrong. I'm just going to clear my terminal by typing in clear, and there we go. Okay, moving on to maths. This is like one of the core fundamental things you can do. So if I again print number 1, we just did this a minute ago, so I'm not going to run it this time, but we know this is going to give us 5. Now if I do number equals number plus 1, number 1 equals number 1 plus 1. If I run this, we get 11, because 10 plus 1 equals 11. A quicker way to do this can be number 1 plus equals 1, which means that number 1 is going to add on whatever this value is, right? And if we add them here, we see we get the same result, 11. I'm sure in Python we can just do, okay, just forget I ever said that, you cannot do that. Now if we do number 1 minus, equals number minus 1, sorry, I keep forgetting to change my variable name to number 1, we get 9, because 10 minus 1 is 9. If we do, to multiply something, or to times it, we use the star symbol, which is going to be shift and 8 to get it. We'll change this to 2 so we can see a difference. So 10 times 2 is obviously going to be 20. Again, I'm going to clear this a wee bit just so I can read it. And then for divide we use the slash, and obviously we can guess this is going to be 5. I'm surprised that changed it to that. We'll get over that in a minute. No, we'll get over that now. We'll get over it now. Actually, no, we won't. We need to finish this segment first. What we can do, again, we can all change these. So, like how we do number 1 plus equals number 1, no, plus equals 1. We can do number 1 minus equals 1, 1 number 1 times equals 2, and number 1 slash equals 2, and all of these are a quicker way of writing all of the examples we wrote above. So keep that in mind. I like to use these. A lot of people like to just write them out fully, and that's completely fine. It's just a quick way and easy way to do it, and that's how I've learned to do it. And if we can add obviously two variables together, just like we added normal numbers. So if I do number 1 plus equals number 2, then we get 10 plus 15, which should give us 25, and you can see down below that we've got that. Times equals, we'll get 150. There you go. Don't even want to get into what it might be divided. 1.5. No, other way about. Yep, I did it wrong. 0.6. You see that these all work together, and that it's just a quicker way. But they would all give you the same results if you wrote it out fully, and that's completely fine to do as well. Okay, so floats is what we saw here. I'm not sure if it's still there, or if I cleared it. Right here, we get 5.0, and what happened there was you get you get 4 data type, you get 5 data types, sorry, right? You get an integer, a string, a character which we call a char, and a float. These are sometimes referred as a real number, decimal numbers, doubles, singles, which I don't understand why they're called that, but I don't know why it's called doubles and singles, but they are called that. So an integer is a whole number, so number 1 equals 1, or not, we'll do 10 again, so that is an integer. String equals hello, that's a string. A character is a single, we'll just do character equals C, that's a character because it only has one single character. And a float, or real, decimal, doubles, whatever, singles, whatever you like to use. I like to use a float. They're all the same, I just like to use the name float, sorry. So float. Oh, okay, here's an error. Not an error, but here's something that could mess us up. Float. This is a class, so, and we'll get into classes in the later videos, but we cannot name our variables something that is a function or a class. So we want to make it something different, so I'm just going to name it number 2, because I know that's not something that's already been named. And number 2 equals 1.5, and so a float is a number with any decimals in it. This is a float, even though it's 1, is because we added the 0.0 at the end, it is a float. Do we go over conversion? I think we do. Right, just to quickly tidy this up. So if we have number 1 equals, number 2, we'll just rename this number 1. If we have number 1 equals 1, 1.0, if I do how to convert this into an integer would be to do number 1 equals int or int brackets number 1. Right, that might be, yep, that's no capitals, right? Int number 1, and if we print this number 1, you'll see that we get 1 by itself, but if we delete this and print it, you'll see that we get 1.0. So we've converted it into an integer. Now if we change what number 1 is equal to, so 1.8, number 1 equals int number 1. What we get here is 1 still. So int doesn't round up to the nearest integer, it just cuts off the rest of it, and it's because it's losing any data. It's losing the data behind this decimal point, and all it gives you is the front number to fix this, I think we use cint. That might not actually be in Python for some reason. Cint. Right, cool. We'll just use int, but there is a function. Is it math? Right, it's round. There we go. I thought we might have to do something else there, but we can do round and number 1, and you see here that we get 2, and so this converts it into an integer, and we get number 2. So that's conversion from integers to floats. I had a plan, I had a schedule for this, but I'm not sure if it's going anywhere, and this video is going to be a lot longer than I thought it would be. Okay. Taking inputs. Obviously everything that you do, a game, a calculator, whatever, they're going to ask an input from a user. How we get those is by using the function called input. Now, whatever we enter in these brackets is what will appear. So I'm just going to, I can't explain it, I'll just show you. Enter a number, right? If I run this, well, let me actually clear this first before I run it. If I run this, you can see that we get enter a number. Now I'm going to enter 12, and that's the program done. But you see here that we didn't assign this number to a variable, so we've just asked for the input and now it's lost forever. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do number 1 equals input. That's another thing you can't do, sorry, you can't put spaces for your variable names, they all need to be together. There you go. And then if I print number 1, so if I show that to the user, we get, I'm going to enter 23, and you see that we get 23 out of our input. Now, simple as that really. Again, we can put in anything really, we don't actually need to put in a number even though it's called number 1. Well, we don't need to do that, we can just do hello, and here it prints hello. So even though it's called number 1 and I've asked them to enter a number, it doesn't specify, it doesn't only take in numbers, which is something that we can fix if we only need a number, like if we're adding. So here's a good chance actually to do to show you an error. So let's quickly just run it as normal. So if I enter a number 10, there we go. Okay, cool. So that's a good lesson, I keep forgetting that. No matter what we input here, this always comes back as a string. So if I enter say 10, then that's actually going to give me 10 but in the quotation marks. Now, while it is a number, we can't do 10 string 10 plus 1 because that's right here. We cannot concatenate, which is actually what we're about to get onto next, hopefully. So what we need to do is we need to do what we went over just a minute ago, int int input, and that will give us, that will let us add, oh no, oh my god, I deleted that, whoops, sorry, I'm all over the place. If I do 10 again, that will let us get 11. However, if I run this program now and I enter hello, we get an error because we cannot convert a string into an integer. So you want to be really careful with how you use these because it can make or break your program. I'm just realising that I've been doing this for 17 minutes now, and I'm hoping that this tumble dryer really hasn't drowned out my voice because I don't know if I have the time to do this again. My fault though. Right, that's taking input. I think, yeah, that's it. We use input to do it. Int isn't really needed. What we can do instead is, instead of doing int around the input, we can change it to int number 1. However, these are all the same thing, and it will give us the same error if we enter a string, or it will give us the same proper result if we do this. So there we go, that is taking input. Concatenation, everyone's favourite subject, something that I have definitely not done before and nearly broke my laptop over. Adding two strings together. So as the error shown below, I'm going to clear this again because I hate a messy workspace. Let's print hello, hello, and then +1. Alright. Now that will give us an error because we can only concatenate strings and not an integer. Alright. Now if I put quotation marks around this, then we can see that we get hello 1. And what has happened here is when I do hello +1, we get hello 1 as one string. And that's concatenation basically. Now if I do string 1 equals hello, and string 2 equals world, what we can do here is print string 1 plus string 2, and if we run this we can see that we get hello world. If I change this a bit and get string 1 and say string 2, we get world hello. Don't have many examples for when you'd use this. I use it, there we go, how about this, we'll combine it, actually that's what, I keep forgetting how to do these videos. Taking input, we'll go back to that, the concatenation, right? So, string 1 equals, we'll use an input box, or an input, sorry, enter your name, and string 2 equals input, enter your age. Right, so I'm going to print string 1, so actually I'm going to do hello. Now how we, oh we don't actually need to do that yet, so hello plus string 1 plus you are, and then we're going to add our age at the end of string 2, right? So this is our name, so hello name, you are, age. Okay, cut and test this out. So into my name, so the coding center, and my age, we'll just say 120 because that's what we are. Hello the coding center, you are 20. Another way we can do this is to avoid concatenation. So what we can do instead is use commas to separate everything. So instead of pluses we just do hello comma name, and as you can see here, if we enter the exact same thing, we get center 20, we get hello the coding center, you are 20. However, what you see here is that the commas give you an extra space, so before it gave us what we wanted, you are 1 space 20, and here we've got you are space 20, if that makes any sense. To avoid this we can just delete the space, the spaces in between there, and then that will give us what we really wanted at the start. But that's concatenation, and that is actually 2 birds with 1 stone, because we went through another print function, or not function, another thing of the print that we need to use. Okay, cool. Okay, if, elif and else statements are what you're going to be using for the rest of your life in Python. These are just core fundamentals that you cannot do anything about. Minus what we've already done, because you can do some stuff. I was just exaggerating to make it seem important, because they are important. So if I've got number 1 equals 2, so we'll start with if number 1 is greater than, so this means greater than 10, and then we add a pair of colon at the end and enter. If number 1 is greater than 10, what do we want to happen if number 1 is greater than 10? Well, we'll print that it is, well, that's not what it is, it is greater than 10. Else, so that means that if the number is not greater than 10, print it is not greater than 10. Alright, so let's quickly run this. Oops. Now, we see here that it checked that so 2 is greater than 10, which is not true, so it didn't run this, it went down here and printed this instead. Now, let's see what happens if we do 10. It is not greater than 10, because great is equal to 10 and obviously not greater than 10. But if I wanted it to say it is 10, then we'd cut right in the middle here and do elif, which is basically just another if statement. So if this isn't true, check if this is true first. So number 1 is equals, so that is a comparison right there. We use 1 equal sign when we're assigning a value, and 2 equal sign when 2 equal signs when we are comparing a value. What do we want to happen if they're equal? We do print it is equal to 10, and there we go. So now if we print it, what happens? It is equal to 10. Simple things. Let's change this to an input. Enter a number. So now we get to wait. Now we want to do int, because I'm pretty sure that will crash, but I don't remember it crashing before, so we're just gonna let this up S, because I couldn't end it because of this video that's running, so clear. So if we run this again, changing it to int instead, we can do that, say 19. It is greater than the 10. 10. It is equal to 10. And we'll do 5. It is not greater than 10. That's if, elif, and else statements. Pretty simple. We'll come back to these very quickly. And we're going to move on to while and for loops. While and for loops, these are very important. I use them in pretty much every program that I have ever written. So let's get right into them. So we're going to start with while loops. So these run, I'd use these when you don't know how many times you want it to run. For example, we're going to do number, or we're going to do phrase. We're going to do phrase equals input, enter the, let's give us something, enter, I'm not sure what I intend on it, enter the greatest YouTuber ever. That's totally not simple enough. So while phrase does not equal, so that's, so here if we do equals the coding center, that means that if they've entered the coding center, then do whatever. But we want this to happen, we want only it to happen if they have not entered the coding center, because then they're wrong. So if the phrase does not equal the coding center, then we're going to ask again. So we do phrase, input, sorry, been spending too much time on Visual Basic. Enter the correct greatest YouTuber ever. So let's go through this one more time. So they're going to enter a YouTuber. If the phrase does not equal the coding center, then we have phrase equals input box, enter the correct greatest YouTuber ever. So here we're going to do Dan TDM. Right. Actually, he is one of the greatest YouTubers ever. I should fix that. But now you see here, it did not equal the coding center, so we start again. Let's do Jack. I forgot to spell his name. Septiceye. I think that's how you spell it. Jacksepticeye. Not right. Right. The greatest. I mean, he is right. Again, he is a great YouTuber. The coding center. And there we go. And because we entered the coding center, this does equal it, so this is no longer true, so we quit out of it. And that is while loops for the now. We'll come back to them later, I think. Yeah. Right. For loops now. So what we want to do, so basically this is a basic for loop. So for I in range. Now what this does is, so we call, this is just a, so I stands for index. We can call this whatever we want. I just like calling it I. So index, you can do I, you can do counter, you can do milk. Oh, that's not actually milk. You can do milk, you can do cheese. I don't know, I'm just ramming random stuff now, but I use I. Range, now this, I'm going to do 0 to 10. This basically means that we're going to do this, we'll do this 9 times actually. This means we're going to do something 10 times. So it goes from 0, so everything starts from 0 in computing. We start counting from 1, so 1, 2, 3, 4. A computer starts from 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and from 0 to 9 is 10. So that means that this is going to complete a task 10 times. So I'm going to do print hello world, and you see here that we get 10 hello worlds. What I can also do is number, so we're going to actually quickly name number 1 equals 20, and then we're going to do number 1 times equals 2. Right, so that means this is going to times it 10 times. Oh, it's going to times it by 2 10 times. So, oh, and I forgot to print it, whoops. And at the end of this for loop, we're going to print it at the end. So print number 1. Okay, and here we go. We get 10,240. I'm sure that checks out. I'm just going to leave it as is. I thought I was muted there. I thought this entire 31 minutes went to waste. Now we're going to see if we have time to do a basic calculator. I'm hoping all this makes sense. If not, I'll delete the video and try it again. But let's do basic calculators now. Right? Okay. Basic calculators. So we want a program to ask us for 2 numbers, and then we'll add them, take them away, multiply them, or divide them, basically on their input. Okay, so we're going to start with number 1 equals int input, enter a number, and then number 2 equals int input, enter another number. Right, now if they enter a string, that's their fault. We'll get onto input validation soon enough, but right now we're just going to focus on the calculator, but there is something to make sure that they enter a number. So number 1 equals input, enter a number, and number 2 equals input, and enter another number. The operation equals, so whether we're adding, taking away, times, or dividing, equals input box, enter your operation, right? Now we're going to use a while loop, so while operation does not equal, so we can either do plus we're going to use the keyword or, and I'll tell you what that means just after we finish this. So does not equal minus, or operation does not equal times, or operation does not equal divide. Now, what means? So that means that if any of these, so does operation equal a plus sign? No, it doesn't. Well, I'm just going to pretend it doesn't. Then it moves on to the next thing. Does it equal a minus sign? No, it doesn't. Does it equal a times sign? No, it doesn't. But if it equaled a slash, so a divide, then it would accept it, and it would say that this is true. Now, wait, okay, sorry, I used the wrong one. We need to use and, but basically what means, we're going to actually quickly just use this as a quick demonstration. So num1 equals 2. Let's quickly do that. Sorry, I'm all over the place, but we're doing this. While num1 does not equal 1, or num1 does not equal 3, what this means here is that if the number does not equal 1 or it doesn't equal 3, then do whatever I write here. But if it equals, say, 1, well, num1 does equal 1, so we can move along. Even if number1 doesn't equal 3, as long as one of these as long as one of these is true, then it continues on. If I change this to and, well, even if number1 equals 1, number1 does not equal 3, so this entire thing is not true, which means that this while loop does not get run, if that makes sense. So for when we use and, we need both of our conditions, is what we call them, both of our conditions to be true, whereas if we use or, we only need one of our conditions to be true. Okay? So while operation does not equal plus, and operation does not equal minus, and operation does not equal times, and operation does not equal slash. So basically what this means is, say they enter 6 for their operation, well, that doesn't equal a plus sign, it doesn't equal a minus sign, it doesn't equal a times sign, and it doesn't equal the dividing sign. So that means that if it doesn't equal any of them, we're going to ask again. Operation equals input, enter a valid operation, right? And that means that this is going to run until they give us one of these 4, sorry. Now, if operation equals, remember we have to use 2 because we're comparing, plus colons, because that's what we do, that's just what we do. Then we're going to do number1 plus equals number2. Okay? Elif operation equals -1, or not minus, sorry. Then we do number1 minus equals number2. Elif operation equals times. We're going to do number1 times equals number2. And then else, because if it doesn't equal a plus, it doesn't equal a minus, or it doesn't equal a times, then it can only equal a dividing sign. So we're going to do number1 slash equals number2. So that, and then we're going to print it at the end. So print number1. Whoops, daisies, number1. What am I spelling? Right, there we go. So let's just go over it one more time. So we get number1 and number2 from the user. We get the operation, If the operation doesn't equal one of the four, then we continue asking them until it does, and then we check which one it's equal to, and we change number one accordingly, and then we show number one at the end. I'm hoping that makes sense. I'm hoping I'm not mucking this up because it's my first time doing it. So let's enter one number, 10, 20. Let's enter an operation. So let me just try and add it. I'm going to do W, enter a valid operation. Let's try 10. Doesn't work. Good. Now I'm going to do a plus sign. So we get back 10 plus 20, which is 30. I'm going to run this again. I'm going to do 10 and 20 again. I'm going to do minus instead. And we get 10 minus 20, which is negative 10. 10, 20, and I'm going to times them together. Oops, that's not that. I'm going to times them together, which we get 200. And finally, if we divide them together, which is so 10 and 20, and divide them, we get 0.5. And that is your first basic proper program in Python. I hope this video made sense. If not, let me know. This video went over obviously all the basics, but if nothing made sense, then, and if I went too fast, then I'll maybe just delete this video and try again from scratch, or I'll just make a new video fixing whatever mistakes I made. But just let me know. That's all for today. Let me know what you think. I need feedback on this so I know what to do and I know what to fix. And I'll consider making a second video depending on how this one does, or depending if I don't feel like a total loser at the end of this. That's all for now.